Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 272nd of Kouryer Podcast. Our today's guest is Mr. Pearson Sweeney. He's a character concept artist and designer from Austin, Texas. And of course, before we go into the signature questions of the podcast, let me quickly mention that in the for contact section of the captions, you can find the ID to his Instagram account, the links to his Linktree and YouTube channel as well, which we'll talk about in the podcast as well. And with that out of the way, how are we doing today?
Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Oh, my pleasure. And well, I assume we kind of could anticipate a lot of the questions that might come up. Here's the thing that I want to just mention. A lot of artists, when I invite them, they usually ask for the exact questions I'm asking them or rough questions for asking them. But I really appreciate that those that don't ask this, because there are some questions that it's best to get asked when you want to give answers to, you know what I mean? Sometimes you have to get put on spot, because sure, you might not come up with the exact answer that you might want, but the answers that pop up in your head first are the real answers. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You get a little bit more raw and realistic answer versus a prepared sort of scripted one.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and all right, so let's start off with the first question, which is give us a little introduction on how we got into the world of visual arts and design. Basically tell us your origin story of what led you to choose art as a path in life.
Oh man, that's a kind of a long story, but not that interesting. I feel like it's pretty similar to a lot of artists out there where growing up as a kid, you're interested in comic books and different media that has art in it, and then as you get a little bit older, you get into the video games and the movies and things like that, and it was always something that was super interesting to me. I don't know if I was necessarily interested in art per se, but just the whole concept of creating something and making your own sort of world. That was always super interesting to me. And then I remember I think it was in first grade. I'd never done any drawing or anything like that. And then in first grade, we were doing an assignment. We're just little kids, when you're a little kid, they give you crayons and basically tell you to be quiet, draw pictures and stuff. And they were putting the pictures on the board afterwards, and they gave me they put mine as the worst picture. So they're giving everyone gold stars, and then for fun they were this is the worst one. And I was super competitive as a kid, so I was like, oh man, I gotta get way better at this. And so that kind of sparked my interest in actually drawing. But then I grew up. As growing up, I was always into drawing, and then probably around high school, I stopped being interested in drawing as much. You kind of forget about it as you're growing up. Other things come up. You start having life choices to make and things like that. And then after getting out of high school, didn't really know where I was going to go to college, and ended up going to I think it's called the Art Institute. Is an old, I don't even know if they're around anymore, but it's basically you pay and they let you in. You don't have to take a test or anything like that. And I went there, and that's kind of where I realized if I wanted to be an artist or a concept artist or work in video games, I was kind of going to have to do it on my own or figure something else out, because no one there knew what they were doing. It was kind of it was chaotic. The teachers were getting hired off of Craigslist. They were losing their accreditation. They were getting sued by the U.S. government for unlawful practices. So it's kind of I still wanted to work in video games, wanted to be an artist, but I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do it at this school. So I ended up dropping out, getting a regular job, working a regular job for I think it was 4 or 5 years, saving up money, and then eventually I was able to stop working and focus on doing art full time. And then once that happened, it took maybe another 3 or 4 years of just doing practicing every day, finding random classes to take, looking at online stuff. There's a lot of free online courses you can get just through like YouTube or other things like that. And then I eventually got enough money to start taking classes at Brainstorm. John Park and James has started a school called Brainstorm. Started taking classes there. And then that really helped sort of fill in the holes for where I was missing things. So like when you're doing it on your own, you can kind of practice the stuff you're good at, or you can kind of figure out what to practice. But you don't have someone telling you like, oh, you're really bad at this, you need to work on it. So that kind of helped me figure out what I really needed to focus on. And then from there, just more practice, and eventually I ended up landing a small gig here, small job here, and they just kind of like, once you get a little momentum going, things start going, and then you end up getting, calls from slightly bigger studios, and then eventually you get what's known as your foot in the door, and then once that happens, you start getting, slightly better jobs, and ever since then, just keep trying to get more jobs, and right now I'm doing freelance, so it's like you just gotta email all the time and hope stuff comes your way. And it's kind of a long-winded answer for my origin story.
Yeah. No, it's fine. But so basically there was no other, hands that, by any chance you probably, wanted to pursue another thing, when you were a teenager in high school, you knew that said that you wanted to become an artist, right? Like your parents maybe, told you maybe take it something safer, go become art on the side.
I didn't really know that I wanted to be an artist, to be completely honest. I actually didn't know what I was going to do. I was like, I don't really have any practical job skills. No one's really going to hire me except for maybe like a McDonald's or a, fast food chain. So I was just trying to figure out what I was going to do for a living. Like who's going to hire an 18-year-old kid once they get out of school with no job skills? So I was like, well, I can draw okay. I can draw better than my classmates just because I was drawing a lot growing up. So I was like, well, maybe I'll give that a shot. And it just turned into something that I really like doing. But I mean, when I dropped out of school, I didn't think I was going to be an artist when I dropped out. I was like, well, I'm going to have to work a regular job. And that's just going to be, the thing that I do is just this regular job. It wasn't I want to say like 3 or 4 years in where it was like, actually, maybe I should go back and try this. Maybe just working a regular job's kind of not the best thing I can do with my life. So I didn't actually know. Like that wasn't at no point did I like think, oh, I'm gonna be an artist. Like this is the thing. It's, like even when I was going to art school, I was like, am I gonna get paid enough as an artist to, eat? But yeah, so it wasn't like a for sure, like I know I'm going to be an artist thing. It's kind of is the only thing I had a good skill in.
Oh yeah, I get what you mean. And well, during this whole time, of course, when you went to the, Brainstorm school and, you went to art center, I think you mentioned, right? Or was it something?
Art Institute.
Yeah, art
Institute. Very different from art center.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, you're right. During this whole process, what led you to, get interested in character concept art more than anything else?
I think that's just the thing I enjoyed working on the most. So, like, you practice everything when you first get started, and I just hated doing environment drawings. It just wasn't something that I was interested in. I was like, there's nothing wrong with it. Some people are amazing at it. I just knew I wasn't one of those people. So I enjoy doing the characters, and that's kind of what I gravitated towards. And figured if I was going to be doing it for, 8, 9, 10 hours a day, I wanted to be doing characters.
That's awesome, man. And speaking of characters, how does your design process look like whenever you want to start working on a new piece or project? Basically, what does the structure of your pipeline look like, whenever you want to start on design a new character, for example?
Okay, so usually I'll get a brief or even just have a meeting where we talk about what the design's gonna be, whether it's gonna be like a warrior character or if it's gonna be supposed to be a like NPC that is the blacksmith or whatever it is. You get a brief. Usually read through that a couple times because usually the first time I read through it, I always miss something. So make sure to read through a couple times, take some notes, try to write down some of the keywords that I want to make sure are going to end up in the design. Then I'll do a little bit of reference gathering, go grab some real world reference of things like poses that might be interesting for that character. And then I'll do references for different items that character might have, whether it's like for example, the blacksmith, go find pouches that a blacksmith might have, tools that they might carry on their belt, what sort of apron a blacksmith might have, just things like that. Get reference. And then once you get the reference, then you kind of start brainstorming more of the artistic or creative side of it. Like, how's this person going to actually look? Like, are they going to be sort of like your standard generic blacksmith, or are we going to do something that's a little more crazy? Like maybe they've been blacksmithing for too long and they're starting to lose their mind, and you got to make them look a little bit wild or whatever it is. You got to start brainstorming those ideas. So then once you get to that stage, that's when you start doing some like thumbnailing and sketching. I like to do a lot of like thumbnailing with just shapes, so I can see silhouettes really easily. You can kind of get a feel for your proportions right off the bat. So I'll do a bunch of just like shape thumbnails or silhouette thumbnails. And then once I've got my thumbnails and my reference, I'll usually go back to whoever, whether the client or the art director, whoever it is you're working with, go back to them, see if they like what your sketches look like, see if they like the direction you're going in. If they like it, awesome, doing a good job. If not, usually go back and try and figure out what you missed or what they would like to see. But yeah, that's kind of how it starts. That's the main sort of steps: is read the brief, gather reference, and then start sketching.
And I was just checking your YouTube channel quickly, and because I wanted to quickly ask you something.
Yeah, my baby channel.
Like your baby channel suddenly got a huge boost in views, which was kind of amazing, from your latest video, I think.
Yeah,
it's done amazing numbers, man. The from 40K, like you're doing something right. A lot of people liking it. You should keep up this format, honestly. And for anyone who's an artist who wants to get into YouTube, you should study as many YouTube channels as possible. So this one is a good start as well. And,
Thanks.
Could you tell us a little bit about this video? Like, and why do you think it suddenly blew up?
Honestly, that's probably because of my wife. She works in marketing. She does social media marketing and works in that field. So she knows how the keyword system works, how the algorithm functions and things like that. So she knows she has a system where basically you look at what other channels are doing, what sort of keywords they have in their titles, what sort of keywords that they use, and then she makes sure to put that in the description or the title, things like that. And then I think also it's because the method of sketching is a little bit different than kind of like what you see on an average YouTube video. So I think just those two things combined, plus a little bit of luck.
Yeah, like it's so lucky to have like your partner be like a specialist in marketing. That's so cool.
Yeah, a little bit. I can't really take credit for that one.
Nah, I mean, but still, like the content is all you. You know, you can't take credit actually.
Thanks.
Yeah. But yeah, that's an interesting case of study for anyone who's interested. The link of the YouTube channel is down in the description as well of this episode, anywhere you're watching. So yeah, go ahead and enjoy the video if you want. And speaking of 40K, let's talk about some of your favorite things in entertainment, video games, movies, franchises, and like you seem to be a huge fan of Warhammer. And
yeah,
if I'm not mistaken, based just off your glance of your Instagram profile.
Yeah, so that's an interesting one because when I was a kid, I always thought Warhammer was like the coolest thing ever. I was like, man, this like I would always go into Games Workshop stores, like check out the miniatures, and like flip through one of their books and read through it. But 40K is kind of like an expensive hobby, and my dad was always like, "No, we're not buying you any of that." He's like, he was a little bit more old school with some of those games and stuff. So he's basically like, "Get outside. I don't want you in the house. Get outside, go play. Come back when it's time for dinner." And so, kind of forgot about it. Ended up not being able to, get into the hobby as a kid. And then a year or two ago as an adult, I kind of came across it just organically online. And I was like, oh man, this looks amazing. And then I started watching YouTube videos on the lore. I started reading the books, and started just like researching all the different miniatures that are out there, and just got way, way too into it. And I was like, man, this is amazing. So in my free time, I would just start sketching up all the different like characters and factions, and while I'm listening to the YouTube videos, I'll do some sketching and always end up sketching out 40K stuff instead of doing the work that I'm supposed to be doing. But yeah, that was definitely one of my favorite IPs that I've been looking at lately.
Yeah, and like I recently got into that. I'm not super I'm kind of bit ignorant about it, but from what some YouTube videos I've seen, like there's the Imperium of Man, then there's like 2630, I don't know, a bunch of factions of humans with different
there's a bunch of factions.
There's Horus Heresy, this dude who betrayed the Imperium.
Yeah.
Which ones are you a fan of, by the way?
My favorite faction?
Yes.
I think I'd have to say like the Blood Angels, which is a Space Marine chapter, would definitely have to be my favorite. Just like right now, just based on their lore is super interesting. They're kind of like crazy. They're one of the groups that's like when they have like this thing in them where they're gene seed, where they create all the Space Marines. This is gonna sound super nerdy talking about this, but they have this thing where they have like their gene seed that creates all the Space Marines is tainted. So when they get too enraged, they basically turn into like unstoppable killing vampires that basically just destroy and eat their enemies, drink blood, turn into like crazy killing vampires. And it feels like a really interesting analogy about trying to be like a normal human just going through life, and then sometimes just getting really upset and angry about things. And as like a regular person in society, you can't really do anything about it. You're just like, well, that person cut me off. Just gotta keep driving. No big deal. That person's being rude, but I gotta be polite to them because I need them to fill out this paperwork for me. But with 40K, it's like if someone's rude to one of the people in this faction, they basically just rip their head off and eat them. So it feels like a nice like outlet for all that pent up frustration that you feel in normal life.
Makes sense. For me, like, from the factions I've seen, that I don't remember the name, but they were green armadillos or something. But they're basically, their main trait was that they treat every civilian as the civilian is the high emperor. So they're
Oh,
super
I
like
think you're talking about the
dragons.
salad.
Oh, the salamanders. Yeah, you're right. I really like the concept of that. That sounds really nice.
Yeah, those guys sound pretty dope. They're also like the most like biggest badass chapter. They're also super nice to people.
Yeah, I like the contrast of that.
Yeah,
And that's really interesting. Like treating every civilian and citizen as like they're the high emperor. Like that's an interesting concept. No?
yeah, that is super interesting. I think that'd be a hard concept to find in real life too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Jesus. And yeah, by the way, for anyone who's watching the episode on YouTube, like if you've been, I should have mentioned this like earlier. If you're seeing lags in the video or something, your internet connection is completely normal. It's just the internet connection of the host. Unfortunately, the internet provider is not very good, so that's why you're seeing lags. So yeah, just wanted to let you know it's not your internet. You don't have to refresh anything. It's just how it is. But the audio is going through pretty well without any problem. So that's good. That's always good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And speaking of, characters, what other, what are some of your favorite video games and, franchises that have really inspired you? Like, we mentioned 40K, but, what other stuff there's out there?
I would say all of the Dark Souls series. So, like, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, the Bloodborne, as well as Elden Ring. I ended up playing way too much Elden Ring, spending most of my free time on that for a while. But yeah, that one's actually been super inspiring just in my regular work. There's always a little bit that ends up getting in there, even if I'm not thinking about it or consciously trying to do anything in that style. Like, I've just looked at so much of the games plus the artwork is amazing. Some of the best like art direction in those games. So that's a huge one that has definitely been inspiring for me. Yeah, I don't know if anything's been quite as inspiring as those games for me personally.
Yeah, and I keep getting annoyed by myself that why didn't I buy Elden Ring like a year ago when it was
They have a DLC about to come out.
Yeah, I know. But I've never been into Souls games. I've never finished the Souls game. But
Okay.
Elden Ring seems like a really interesting, point to start off this Souls genre with.
What do you usually play?
What do you mean?
Like what video games have you been interested in?
Oh God, I couldn't shut up about my favorite video games in the past couple of episodes, so I think people would be annoyed by it. But I mostly I finished a bunch of standalone games in the past couple of years, but in the past year was Cyberpunk, Starfield, which was quite disappointing, Baldur's Gate 3, Guardians of Galaxy, Fear and Hunger is a series of indie games. It was really awesome indie games. Just a lot of games, but mostly I don't really have the energy and time right now to just invest time into a game for 70, 80 hours anymore. I just need something just to play a match of 30, 40 minutes, which I unfortunately still play League of Legends. So there's that. That's just my quick dopamine hit.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I really want to give a Souls a good try because I feel like I'm behind the bandwagon in a sense. And by the way,
Elden Ring is a great one to start on.
Yeah, on Elden Ring, can you min-max a whole build around punching, just melee?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could. Technically, I don't know if it would be considered a min-max build if you're doing punching, since that's not the ideal way to approach combat, but you can definitely do that. I mean, I've seen YouTube videos where guys have just done a punching build and beat the whole game.
Oh yeah, there's some crazy people out there. My favorite one is the Let Me Solo Her guy.
Oh, that dude's crazy.
Yeah, I love that type of energy, honestly. That dude's energy. And he actually got immortalized in the game, I think. They sent him like a statue. He beat like Melania, I think 1,000 times or something.
So yeah, some crazy number.
And he even sometimes spawns into other people's games and helps them beat Melania. It's like I love the whole idea that there's some unhinged person out there that hates Melania. And it's his mission in like kill her as much. So that's the type of things I like to see when I log into internet.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that FromSoft was also like they also loved that guy.
Yeah,
and made a statue out of him.
Yeah. Oh my god. And yeah, like someone built, I think, a Mike Tyson lookalike character in Elden Ring and just beat the game with whole many. That's why I'm kind of interested. Like one thing that is really important to me in a game is that a game should allow the player to get super strong at even the most unconventional builds. But of course, there's going to be harder and easier to start with some builds. Like if you're going, like I don't know, great sword, for example, build, it might be a lot easier to get more damage. Maybe the defense could be a little bit lower. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. But I think it should be balanced in a way. Like, of course, going unarmed, of course, is going to be hard. You're going against like knights with armor and sword and shields. Of course, you're going to get screwed over. But it should allow the player who are skilled and dedicated enough to get to that skill level. Like it should. There should be that much of a
have a really high ceiling for skill.
Yes, but it should still be a way to get to that, level of power. It's going to be harder to grind, but it should be possible. A lot of games, that's not possible. For example,
you can definitely do that now, the Rick.
I'll give it a shot because I like to do weird. Always in every game I play, I like to do weird stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you try to find ways like, can I break the game? Is there a way I can like?
Not necessarily that. Yeah, that's one way to look at it, but not necessarily that. I like to just take things that are from the setting, but then change it, twist it completely. Like what I did, for example, in Baldur's Gate was I was a rogue, but at the same time I was a druid as well. So it was really fun for my character to turn into a cat, a snake, steal something, turn into human, steal, turn into a cat again, and come back. And like that's a whole other conversation. I'm gonna get into Baldur's Gate because we're gonna talk for like hours. But listen, for every single thing you do, they added dialogues for that specific event. Something the player would maybe like a small percentage of players would even see them or hear them, but they're still in the game. I love it.
They did a great job with that.
You have to play it if you haven't, honestly. But you need to invest a lot of time in it, by the way. Just letting you know.
Yeah, I heard that was like a couple hundred hours could be burned through on that one.
Yeah, just for fun, I tried to speed my way through the game and it took me 80 hours.
Your speed run was 80 hours.
No, I mean, I wanted to enjoy the most quests and everything as much as possible. Like I didn't just do it just to finish the game. No, I did a lot of the main quests, character quests and stuff like that. But still, I missed a ton. And the way game is designed, like when you want to go from Act 1 to Act 2, there's two ways, Route A and Route B. If you go Route A, of course, you can't go back to Route B or, go back to Act 1 anymore. So you miss Route B. So either path you choose, the other path feels like an expansion to the game, a DLC expansion or something, So you have to replay the game to actually experience everything at least twice. And because there's so much builds and things you can do that, it definitely, the game is so robust when it comes to replayability. It's amazing. Like every playthrough could be a new playthrough. Like there's so many crazy stuff you can do. Like you can make your character a bard and, sing along, attract everyone's attention, and you can, tell your other character to steal from everyone else or, sneak in through something. Like there's so many things you can do. It's insane. Do you remember those old Commandos and Desperados games, like top-down games that you played with multiple characters?
Kind of like which titles?
Like Commandos. Have you played those? early 2000 games or Desperados.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm familiar with the Commandos games. Was it like Red Alert? Like
No,
you
no,
know?
no, basically it's like you're in a mission and you have multiple characters who all have different abilities and items and kits. And you had to navigate your way through the enemies line of sights, maybe do something, blow up a building, save a
Okay.
hostage, or escape. And for example, you had a character, distract one guard, and you had another character at the same time running around while the guard's distracted, kind of mechanics like that.
Okay.
Baldur's Gate has that to the maximum. Right? Like there was a quest that I had to go into, sneak into a vault, and I couldn't because there were these guardians who kept guarding it, and I was in their line of sight. So I took two of my party members, separated them from my own party so they could become a standalone, made them stand in a way that when they press interact to talk with that character, they would turn away. And that is something actually in the game. And I initiated dialogue with them, and I choose my own character to sneak in, and it worked.
That's awesome.
And this is like the most basic thing of things you can do in Baldur's Gate. Like I'm just gonna shut up about Baldur's Gate. Sorry, I'm sure people are, because I've been fanboying over this game for months now. The podcast, Jesus,
That's awesome though.
yeah, Larian did an amazing job. That's all I can say.
I'm gonna have to check it out when I get a little more free time.
Yeah, you definitely should. And well, those were some interesting discussions. But now I want to ask you something else. Who are some of your favorite artists and designers that have inspired you the most?
Say that again?
Who are some of your favorite artists and designers that have inspired you the most?
Oh man, that's like asking someone what their favorite song is. There's way too many good ones out there. Obviously I have to start with I would have to say John Park was definitely one of my favorites. Probably one of the guys that inspired me to start doing concept art. I remember watching his early videos on YouTube from when he was teaching at, I think it was called Red Engine Studio or Engine Red Studio, something along those lines. That was like one of the things that was like, oh, this is something I want to get into. So I'd have to say him. And then I remember watching the early FCD YouTube channel when Fengzi was posting on YouTube regularly. That was definitely something that inspired me to get into concept art. Let's see. There's so many, man. There's so many amazing artists out there. Man, put me on the spot. I remember getting on conceptart.org. I don't know if you're familiar with that website.
No.
So back in the mid 2000s, there was a website called conceptart.org, and it was basically just a giant forum where regular average people who were just learning how to draw could message people that were already professionals in the industry, and they all just mingled on this one website that had forums you could post your practice sketches on, and you could get feedback from whoever felt like giving you feedback. But I remember going on there and seeing work from a bunch of the Blizzard artists, and there's a guy named Cole Eastburn who works over at Blizzard. And I remember seeing his stuff on there and just being blown away by it and following him. So he was another guy that was really inspired me to try and get into doing a lot more character design and stuff like that. Man, so many good artists out there. Basically anyone posting on Instagram or YouTube who does a good job of putting nice character designs together is always inspiring. Another great artist is Marco, the guy that started Six More Vodka. if you're familiar with that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so he's a big inspiration for me. Like looking at his work and the way he handles doing loose sketches and then working it up to finished paintings. So that was always something I was interested in. Plus, he does a lot more of the like gritty content where he has pictures of guys getting stomped in the face, or a lot more of the post-apocalypse sort of grunge feel to his work that I really liked. So that was definitely something that inspired me. And then I don't know, some of the older artists that might not be around anymore that were inspiring would be some of the classics like Rembrandt or John Singer Sargent. Some of the more classical guys were also inspiration to just not even do concept art, but just try and get into painting. So yeah, those probably off the top of my head the names I would put out there.
All right, awesome. That's a pretty good list. Nice. And well, what are you working on right now that you can tell us about? I mean, of course, if it's something that then NDA is involved, we can skip right past this question. But if that's not the case, could you share some information on what you're doing right now?
Oh man, right now I've actually been doing a lot of like smaller freelance gigs where just doing like commissions and like working on Kickstarters, things like that, where there's a lot more leeway, or I guess you would say more creative freedom. So you get to have a little bit more fun with it and inject a little bit more of your own personal flavor into the work, which has been a lot of fun. And then also trying to start a YouTube channel. One of those things where you like always think about like, oh, I should do this. I should start making videos, and then you kind of like, well, I don't have time for it today. And it's one of those things where you just kind of put off. And so like this year I've like got to sit down and actually just do it. So that's probably my biggest project that I'm working on right now, is just making videos and figured out how to make videos. Like I'm not the best with computers and technology and things like that. So just the logistics of figuring out how does a microphone work, how are you supposed to set your microphone up so it doesn't sound terrible, make sure you don't hear like every single little sound that you make, or I didn't even know that you weren't supposed to have the microphone right in front of your face until like last week. So I'm Googling like why is my microphone making all these weird sounds? So that's probably the most interesting one that I'm doing right now, is just because that's the one where I'm learning the most as I'm working. Learn about how like the algorithm works and keywords work and things like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like that's something I'm also involved in actively. I should learn a lot more when it comes to stuff.
Yeah, like there's a bunch of stuff that I hadn't even thought of, like how the algorithm works, or like the first 30 seconds, if you don't keep your audience on, the algorithm doesn't push you further into the main search or anything, so then your video gets lost. But if you keep people on for the first 30 seconds, then the algorithm will push you out and more people will find you. Just like random stuff like that.
Oh yeah. And well, actually your YouTube channel has potential. Like I think there are some formulas that you can follow, like for content. Like for example the orc thing that you did, if you could do it as a series of like different characters, and maybe combat medic, or maybe combat engineer, all the different roles and every different variations that's out there, and make a series out of it. And especially like if you could make it a short as well. Shorts are amazing. Like you can literally build off every channel just by shorts. And that's the fastest way, actually. That's a meta.
That's a good idea.
That's actually the meta. If you have like, you can do like one video that's like, a commentary, like the one you just did, and also have like time lapse in it, just a normal long version. And you can do like a shorter version of that same speed up video as a short. You know?
that's a great way to do it.
And make playlists like the different factions, and and that's just 4K. Of course, I'm sure you have your own stuff you want to show you. There's other franchises, and whew, you got yourself 100K subscribers in less than a year. I'm serious.
That'd be great. I mean, it's a high goal, but that'd be cool.
And I think,
there's definitely a lot of content out there,
the thing is, if I were you, like, I would first record a lot of videos and prepare the captions, tags, and everything first. When it became 100, 200, videos a lot, then I would schedule every upload and I would upload them. Because one thing that YouTube algorithm likes is consistency,
Yeah.
And this way, you're 100% sure you hit those quotas, all the time. Sure. For example, because the thing is, if you upload a video let's say 10 days ago, you have the pressure to upload another video in 2 weeks at least, right?
Yeah.
And life gets in the way, things happen. But as a project, first try to record and just have an archive of videos, just rapid fire upload, but don't actually rapid fire upload them. You would schedule all the uploads. This is my idea. I'm not an expert on marketing or YouTube, but discuss this with your partner and actually let me know, what she thinks, because I'm also interested in this strategy as well for shorts. And I might do that.
Yeah, no, she definitely says to do shorts. She's always saying shorts are the most important thing. That's like
Instagram right now is all reels.
Yeah, anytime one of the platforms comes out with a new feature, they always push that feature. So shorts is the new thing on YouTube. So they want, if you have shorts, they're more likely to push those. And
they're not that new. They're a year or 2 years old, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they've been around for a bit now, but it's it's the feature that's competing with the other platforms.
Yeah.
So
it's the most popular feature right now on every platform, for good reason. It's fast, it's a quick dopamine hit, and you get
it's a little too quick. You end up just scrolling on it for an hour, just you're oh my god, I was on here for an hour.
Yeah. And damn, I'm sure my brain is fried after a lot of using Instagram these past couple of years. I should probably keep away from it.
Actually make sure I don't have Instagram on my phone. I can only get on Instagram on my computer.
That's smart. Yeah.
Because I would be
yeah, go on. Sorry.
I was just gonna say I would be on my phone way too much. And you start out oh, I'm gonna check my emails or send a message or whatever, and then somehow you're magically on Instagram. You're I didn't even remember opening Instagram. And so I'm I gotta get rid of this.
It's a damn fridge. You keep opening it, expecting new food.
Exactly. Except the fridge doesn't suck an hour out of your life.
Yeah. And how about YouTube? Like when you eat food, do you need to have YouTube played, a video played or something played?
So because I have 2 kids, so when we eat food, it's like a sport to see who can finish first, and then try and keep the kids from crying or from getting out of hand or throwing food or whatever. So there's no sitting and relaxing while you eat your food anymore. It's more of a game of trying to keep the house clean.
All right. How old are they, by the way?
So I have one that's 3 and then one that's a little over a year old. So they're real young.
Yeah.
They're at the stage where they still think it's okay to throw food around and get crazy.
Damn, I remember, if I remember correctly, I gained kind of proper consciousness when I was 4 years old. That whole meme when, people say on a summer day when I was 5 years old, I suddenly gained consciousness. Does that concept freak you out a bit?
I actually think I don't know if it's true or not, but if it is, that's great, because then they won't remember any of the dumb things I did when I was trying to figure out, how to take care of them. But We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, some people have pretty good memories. Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably to grow up and be like, "Hey, Dad, you remember this one time you did this thing?" And I'm like, "I have no idea." And he's like, "Well, I remember it. 2 years old. You told me not to do this, and I've never done it again." And I'm like, "Oh God, I messed him up."
Oh God. Yeah, actually, it's kind of weird because I remember memories from when I was, I'm not joking or anything, when I was like only a couple of months old or maybe 1 year old. Because I remember POV memories of being in people's arms. Like I'm serious.
That's crazy. It's like it's just like locked in there.
Yeah, it's so weird to me. Like, but at the same time, some memories, like that's such a fascinating topic for me. Like I was thinking, when I was 7, 8 years old, we went on a trip, to the north of Iran, and we went to someone's house. But I'm just curious, why don't I remember inside the house? The only thing I remember was just one night going into the shower, then there was dinner ready. That's it. But I don't remember the house at all. I don't remember just anything, and that's why don't I remember anything? I remember things from before that, but what happened that things blurted out. Like I don't get it.
That's interesting. Yeah, memory is crazy the way it works, because like normally we think of memory like as a camera, and like we just logically are like, oh well, like I just remember this thing or that thing. But like memories don't really work like that. There's some sort of weird way that we save memories, and they can change over time, and you don't even know that they're changing. That's a crazy topic.
Yeah, and I don't know how to deal with it sometimes. It's crazy. But what I can deal with is the next question, which is that's a nice segue.
All right.
What area beside the area you're working at right now, which is of course mostly art, would you be interested to explore and learn in the future? Basically, what other non-art related stuff you got going on in your life?
Well, before I was working at art, I was actually a personal trainer and a strength coach. So I'll probably say doing that again would probably be fun. Give me a chance to do something a little more active. As an artist, you kind of sit a lot. There's a lot of staying in one place, not doing a whole lot. So it'd be nice to take a little break and become a little more active again. As you get a little older, things start to feel a little painful, or you feel a little bit slow and stiff in areas you didn't used to. So it'd probably be good to get up and get back in the gym.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, for a while I used to, that's one thing that's been a blight on my life right now, the lack of exercise, to be honest. And I remember for one time, like for a certain amount of time, I was doing something that was really effective, but I don't know, maybe it's winter now and I really don't feel like doing it, or I'm just lazy, maybe both. But mostly it's because I'm lazy, to be honest. And I used to have like a timer of 1 hour, and every 1 hour it would ring, and I would get up from my seat right now, or which is like a bed, actually not a seat, and I would do like 10 push-ups. That's it, not more, not less. 10 push-ups, get back.
Okay.
And I would like and by the way, by push-up, I don't do like half-ass push-up, just push up till slowly to the bottom and get up fast, slow as possible.
Like kind of make it hurt a little bit.
Exactly. I love the squeeze of pain, in the end. Like it's really nice.
Yeah, that pump, that like where you feel the blood.
Yeah. And I was like, at the end of the day, I do 120 push-ups per day, but it doesn't really count because the intensity is not there that much, but it's better than nothing. And for a while, even though it wasn't that effective, it was pretty nice. Like I had nice development all around. Like, yeah, I might still do it again, but I don't know. The cold weather makes it really weird to do for me. My joints, my stiffs are really, my stiffs. What are stiffs? My joints are really stiff. My brain is not working right now.
I get it. You feel a little stiffer when it's cold out.
Yeah, and it's just hard to move that much. Your joints don't get that lubricated that easily, and yeah. But these are all like I'm just lazy. Like I'm just explaining, trying to find a way out and escape from my laziness for myself. I know I should just force myself.
No,
Um,
working out is like one of those weird things where if you don't do any working out at all, it feels really hard to do a little bit. But if you're doing a little bit of working out, it doesn't feel that hard to do a little more. It's like it's a lot easier to already be working out and then just do more versus going from zero. Like if you're doing zero
oh
working
yeah,
out, it feels so hard to do anything.
yeah. In the beginning, it's really hard to get traction, but once you do, it's all smooth sailing. Like when I was
Yeah.
trying to train for a marathon, the first month was torture. My shins were I used to get shin splints all the time. But after a while, it actually became fun because my
Yeah, you start
every
feeling
single
good.
muscle was working properly. It felt smooth. It felt nice to run, which was crazy to me. Even right now, for me, it's crazy. How was I having fun running? But the hardest part becomes meal preparation, washing your
Yeah.
clothes, and stuff like that. The fun part would be the exercise at that point. You know,
Yeah,
not
no,
the
I
other way
agree.
around.
I agree. Like when you're into it, when you're in a rhythm, doing the actual exercise feels pretty good. You feel good. Your body's working correctly. Your brain works a little bit better because it gets some extra blood. And then you're like man, now I gotta do extra laundry. Now I gotta cook some extra like healthy
Oh,
food. I
yes.
can't just grab a burger.
Actually, let me tell you one of the craziest memories I have, like overall in life, which is as a result of exercise. So, as I mentioned before the podcast, I was just, like around 4 years ago in the summer of 2019, I think, 5 years ago, Jesus. So I started to seriously start training to lose a lot of weight, which I did.
Okay.
And I used to wear like multiple t-shirts. I even was so crazy I would just tear holes in like plastic garbage bags, and I would wear a layer of that as well to add more layer
Get
of
the
heat
extra
to it.
sweat.
Yeah, and I would wear a jacket in the middle of summer high noon, and I would go run. And the second or first time, I sweat so much that I kept having like symptoms of cold. When when you work out really hard, your face is red for like a day
Yeah.
and everything. All that was really intense, but it was nice. I felt like a lot of the toxins and stuff, scum that was in my veins and body so much got like released from my body through sweat. And what happened? I used to play a game called Dota 2 as a MOBA, and I used to
Okay.
play ranked for fun. And without any like try harding or anything, I went on a win streak of 5 win streak on one of my mains called a character hero called Axe. And I was like,
Nice.
this is interesting. Let me see how far I can take it. I went on a 14 win streak, back to back ranked games with Axe.
Damn.
And I never had, because I think my brain was working to the maximum capacity because of exercise. I think exercise had that effect.
Yeah,
That
you were in the zone. You were like zoned
that
in.
is insane to me. That just proved to me how effective exercise can be in performance.
Yeah, it's definitely important.
What a healthy, well-regulated body can do. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy because I gained back a lot of that weight. He says, and I'm not really exercising that much. Yeah, I should probably work on that as well. But yeah, do you have anything to?
But
And do you have
sorry,
anything
you
to
cut
add on
out
to
there.
that?
Oh yeah, just just do something small that you can do this. Like just pick the tiniest goal you can possibly think of and then do that. And then it'll make doing a little bit more easier versus like trying to do everything all at once right off the bat. Because then it's overwhelming. You're like, nah, I'm not gonna bother. Whereas if you just pick like that tiny, tiny little goal, you're like, well, I can do that. That's not hard. I'll just do that. And then everything else gets a little bit easier.
Yeah, and well, we've reached the final question on section of the podcast, which is called Time Capsule. And all right, I'm going to explain it this way. Imagine you had only like a small window of time, like maybe a couple of minutes, to share with us the most important and valuable life lessons you've learned thus far to this point. And what would those lessons and advices would be as a human to another human being? This isn't about the arts, by the way.
Life. I don't know if I'm the best person to ask for life advice from. I guess the best advice I can give you is don't take anything too seriously, because you never know. You never know what might happen or what direction your life's gonna take. But also at the same time, if there's something you want to accomplish, try to accomplish that the best you can. Don't give up on it and just half-ass it. You gotta put a lot of effort into accomplishing things, and whether it's art or business or whatever, it's there's a lot of people in the world and a lot of people that want to accomplish things, and whether you like it or not, they're all competing against you. And if you want to get somewhere, you gotta work hard to get there. So, put the phone down every once in a while and actually take some steps to accomplish your goals, and put some effort into things every once in a while. But I don't know, that's probably the best life advice I have. I wouldn't call myself an expert in life coaching, so take it with a grain of salt.
You don't have to be expert life coach, but I'm sure there's some really important, things you've learned thus far based on your experience, and that's the whole point of the question, But regardless, I mean, that was a great answer too. Do you have anything else to add on?
I don't think I have too much more life advice. I definitely made plenty of mistakes along the way and didn't take my own advice plenty of times. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, I can relate to that as well. And well, thank you so much for taking your time and coming on for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, this is great. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you wanting to talk to me.
Yeah, my pleasure. And thank you to anyone who tuned in to listen to this episode as well. I hope you enjoyed it as well. If there's any critiques or comments or anything, or suggestions, leave them down in the comment section down below, and I'll get to it, of course. Or you can just send me a message on the Kouryer Podcast Instagram page. And with that being said, folks, take care, stay safe, and see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.